Note to self, don't wait 6 months to shoot your next book haul video. Hey everyone, it's been 6 months since I shot a book haul video, and I have a stack of books here like you wouldn't believe, so we're gonna jump right in. Let's start with some digital and audiobook purchases because those count as well. Let's start with some audiobooks that I've purchased. I've been enjoying memoirs where the narrator is the person that wrote the book, and I got a few of those. I'm reading one by Kevin Smith. I'll put it up on the screen here. I'm not gonna say the title just in case any of my students see this video. I can't be using profanity on my channel. But this is one I'm actually listening to right now, and it is pretty much everything you would expect from a Kevin Smith novel, book, memoir, whatever it is. I say that both positively and negatively. Another memoir that I got from audible.com is Me by Elton John. Looking forward to that one. And then the third memoir that I picked up on Audible is called Coach Wooden and Me by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've always loved John Wooden and kind of his philosophy of leadership, and I thought it'd be interesting to read a book from the perspective of one of his players. So this will be a fun listen, I'm sure. And one more audible.com purchase I bought, and that was One Shot by Lee Child. I haven't done any of the Jack Reacher books by audio, and I thought it might be fun to do one that way. I also have one more Kindle book. I don't read my Kindle very much at all. I found that I connect to the written word a lot more than electronic device. But when I travel, I use my Kindle a lot. So I always keep 6 to 8 books on there. And I did receive one book from an author called The Shadow of Theron by Kathryn Troy. And this sounds really good. And it's kind of a retelling of Zorro, but it's in a fantasy world. So like a masked hero of the people. Sounds really interesting. So at some point when I'm traveling, I'm sure I will get to The Shadow of Theron. All right, next set of books are books that were gifted to me or sent to me, and I'm excited to go through this stack. A lot of great books here, that most of which I have not read. Actually, yeah, most of which I have not read. Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. A student gifted me this one a couple months ago, and I hope to read this one very soon. I enjoyed Slaughterhouse-Five last year by Vonnegut, so I've always wanted to read Cat's Cradle. So there's one. Another gift, this was a birthday gift from Mom. This is some Steinbeck, To a God Unknown. Steinbeck's a top 5 author for me. I've read 9 of his works so far, and I will read everything. This will be the next one that I read by Steinbeck. One that I just finished last night, and that is The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This was gifted to me from Danny, and this is a work of contemporary Japanese fiction. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. A lot of aspects of it, I wasn't sure why I liked it, but look for my book review of this at the end of the month. Another one, Tori sent me this one. This is Tigana by Guy Gabriel Kay. Really excited to read this because I have read GGK for the first time this year. Lines of Al Rassan was a fantastic 5-star read for me, so I look forward to getting this one pretty soon. Another one, this was back in a birthday gift. This is Counterpoint, a memoir of Bach and Mourning by Philip Kennicott. And this is a memoir and just sounds very, very interesting. I've talked about this one. I've talked about this one and a few other ones when I did a physical TBR video. So my apologies for the overlap from that video a couple months ago, any of you that have seen all of these. But I think when we get to maybe the special editions portion of this video, it'll have been worth it because I haven't shown those anywhere. All right, next book in my stack of gifts was a gift from a friend. This is The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor. This is a contemporary work of science fiction. Has some great sprayed edges. I guess I could have put this in the special edition pile. Oh well, it was a gift. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one at some point soon. Next one was sent to me by the author Brent J. Ludwig and his publicist. This is called The People's Prince, Those Who Would Be King. And this is described as a combination of the Black Panther meets The Prince and the Pauper. And it's historical fiction and just sounds fascinating. I've kind of put a stop to receiving arcs and things like that from authors just because I have such a large TBR, but this one sounded so intriguing I wanted to go ahead and add it. So hope to get to this one soon. hopefully by the end of the year, if not sometime early in 2024. I received a couple books. I was very honored to receive a couple books by Janie Wirtz. She sent me To Ride Hell's Chasm and was nice enough to write me a note and autograph it for me as well. So I really look forward to reading this one. If I don't get to this one by the end of the year, it'll be a top priority for 2024 for sure. I remember Philip Chase and Joanna just raving about this book, and I've loved Jannie's contributions to the Empire trilogy, which she co-wrote with Raymond E. Feist. I've read the first 2 books of that. The 3rd book I'll be reading probably next week, so I look forward to reading a lot of her standalones, including another one that she had sent. Part of her books of War of Light and Shadow is Traitor's Knot, so I'll eventually read all of these. She's an author that, just like Gemmell and GGK, I read enough to say that, yeah, I want to read everything this author's written, so the TBR expanded quite a bit. Ben sent me this one. I was really excited to receive this gorgeous, I love this naked hardcover. Just the artwork right on the cover. This is Becoming a Druid by Mike Molman, and in addition to Ben, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this author and this series. I think there's 2 books, maybe a 3rd one or a novella coming out soon, but I've heard a lot of really good things, so hope to get to this one soon too. Thanks again, Ben. This was back a birthday gift. This was from Joanna. This is the White Wolf Elric Saga Volume 3. I'm currently making my way through Volume 2. Probably won't get to this by the end of this year, but I think Elric is going to be one of those that's going to be a priority for me in 2024. And 2 more. These were 2 just birthday gifts from Mom back in March. Firefly Life Signs by James Lovegrove. I love Firefly, as you can tell from the artwork behind me. Top 2 show of all time for me, maybe my favorite show of all time. And I'm enjoying the novels. They're a little hit or miss, but I'll read them all just because I love the characters and love the story. And the other one that she sent is Fire and Blood, and I can't wait to read this. I've been itching to read some George R.R. Martin, but I don't want to reread Song of Ice and Fire until Winds of Winter is released, so maybe this will hold me over a little bit. All right, the next stack. These are just purchases that I've purchased over the last 6 months. Starting with some David Gemmell, mentioned him a little bit ago. Waylander is the next one in the Draenei saga. I've read the first 2. These aren't a priority, but I feel like I always need to have an unread Gemmell on the shelf just for when I need to reach for that. So I'm looking forward to the next installment. I've heard really, really good things about this book. One you've probably seen me talk about. This was a book that I read a couple months ago. It was part of my TBR. Jonathan had recommended it for me, and that's Solaris by Stanislav Lem. And this was a really good, thought-provoking work of science fiction. Before my trip to Japan, if you didn't see that travel log, you can check that one out. I'll link it above and below. I picked up a work by Haruki Murakami called Killing Commendatore, and I read this while I was in Japan, which was a great experience. And also when I was in Japan, I picked up a second work by Murakami, and that was Absolutely on Music, Conversations with Seiji Ozawa, which of course, as an orchestral conductor, I love this book too. Check out that vlog if you want to hear me talk about both of those books and see some of my sites when I visited Japan a few months ago. Okay, the next one has a bookmark in it because I'm currently reading The Hyperion Omnibus by Dan Simmons. This was a top priority for me this year, and I'm finally getting to it here in August. I've read Hyperion. I finished it earlier this week. Fantastic. It'll be reviewed very soon on my channel when I do my monthly wrap-up of August. And I'm just about to start Fall of Hyperion. I'll be starting that one tonight. So definitely looking forward to getting through this. With that in mind, I picked up the last 2 books, Endymion and The Rise of Endymion. I have all Dan Simmons hardcovers on my bookshelf, so I had hoped to get all hardcovers, but the Hyperion books are just they're not cheap. So I got the omnibus for that, but I have the hardcovers for Endymion. All right, a few more books that I purchased, a couple musical books. I always like to start my school year with just some musical inspiration. And the first one that I'll be reading probably next month is The Art of Possibility by Rosamund Stone Zander and Benjamin Zander. Ben Zander is a famous conductor, and his wife, I think, is a psychologist, and I think she mostly wrote this, and it just seems like bits of inspiration. A fellow conductor told me about this and said it's just a really inspiring read, and I think I want to read this one very soon. The other one is a biography of the composer Johannes Brahms. I'm doing some music by Brahms this year, very excited to do so. I've never read a biography of him. So Jan Swafford, I know he wrote one of the biographies of Beethoven that I read. Although it wasn't my favorite biography of Beethoven, it was probably the most complete. So I figured this was a good one to pick up. Johannes Brahms, a biography. Okay, a couple more. These are some priorities this year that I don't know if I'm going to get there. I had 12 priorities of my TBR 2023 video, and I'm currently working on number 11, and that's Hyperion. Number 12 would be to read Mark Lawrence. Now, I bought Prince of Thorns. I had the 10th anniversary edition, but I found some used bookstore, King of Thorns, the second book in that trilogy, the Broken Empire trilogy, and Emperor of Thorns. So I do have that first trilogy. I also have the Red Queen's War trilogy on the shelf, which I think I showed you in a previous book haul, because I found those at a used bookstore. Love those finds when you get these great hardcovers for like $5 or $6. It's amazing. I hope to get to Mark Lawrence. I don't know if I will, just based on what I have sketched out for the rest of the year, but fingers crossed that I do get there. If not, he'll definitely be another of the priorities in 2024. Okay, a few more purchases. I purchased the first two books of Philip Chase's Edan trilogy, The Way of Edan and The Prophet of Edan. I've read The Way of Edan and really enjoyed it. I did a review on this. Prophet of Edan I haven't read yet. I'm waiting. The third book is coming out late September, so I think I'm going to read Prophet in October, and then The Return to Edan, which is the final book in his trilogy, in November. That's how I kind of have it sketched out at this point, but I'm really excited to have all of these on the shelf. Another book that I think I have this penciled in for October. This one's heavy. This is Gaijin by James Clavell. I read Shogun last year, one of the best books of the year that I read. I read Taipan earlier this year, really enjoyed it. And Alex and Kyle and I are all reading Gaijin. So I think we're planning on finishing this up in October. So I'm going to read this in October, most likely. So I love the Asian Saga by James Clavell, so definitely looking forward to that one. A book that was a pre-order for me was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I will read this one by the end of the year. It's taken me a while for me to fit it into the TBR. But this is R.F. Kuang not doing fantasy, but doing kind of literary fiction. But I feel with her books that she's kind of better at theme than character and world building and that kind of thing. So this might be a home run of a book for me. We shall see. Next one, a book that found at the used bookstore. I didn't know this existed. This is a book by Michael Connolly that's a nonfiction work called Crime Beat, A Decade of Covering Cops and Killers. And this is a book that's nonfiction about just all the research and all the work that he did. He was originally a crime journalist before he was an author. And it's Connolly, so I definitely want to read it. I didn't even know this book existed, so I'm definitely excited to read that. And the last purchase, another one that I read last month, so look for that review very soon, was Justin Cronin's latest book, The Ferryman. This was great, so just wait for that review. Cronin is an auto-buy author for me. I wish he wrote faster, but all of his books have been 5-star reads for me. So The Ferryman is another great one I picked up this year. Now for some special editions. I had a gift card from a student for Christmas that I finally spent, and I was excited to pick up. I love these cloth-bound Penguin Classics books. I had 3 of them. Well, I have 7 of them now. I picked up a few, essentially just upgraded some books that I had just in paperback and got these great collector editions. So I just love the feel and how tactile they are and how they all are a little different. So I picked up Pride and Prejudice. This is one, of course, I have read before and loved. I also picked up another one, Test of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. Poor Tess. One that I read, over a decade ago was Don Quixote. I really like this one. You can see the detail. Love the orange. Of course, by Cervantes. And the last one was Crime and Punishment, which I now have 3 translations of this because I need 3 translations. Actually, I plan on rereading Crime and Punishment like every 5 years the rest of my life and experiencing different translations. So I'll be interested to read this next one. So I'm excited to have 7 of those cloth-bound Penguin Classics. Those are great to look on the shelf. Another one this one just arrived earlier this week. This was something I got from Cemetery Dance Productions, Publishers, something. Anyway, there's a novella by Stephen King that he wrote with Stuart Onan called A Face in the Crowd. And that's half of the book, but when you do this, there's another novella by Richard Chismar called The Longest December. And I'm not a big Chismar fan, to be honest, but this is a work by Stephen King that I didn't have in print, so I had to get it. But definitely looking forward to reading both of these. Very interesting edition. Next special edition is I finally got onto past the waiting list to the Broken Binding subscription service. So I've received one of these. The second one is on the way as I'm filming this, but this is a book by K.S. Veloso called The Wolf of Oren Yarrow. It's the first book of the Chronicles of the Wolf Queen, and let's look at this book. This is just gorgeous. The artwork, these editions are amazing. Of course, they all have these incredible sprayed edges. I mean, they all have the ribbon. We have some inner art like this. And then even just the naked hardcover. Just an incredible edition. So I'm excited to receive the rest of this series and whatever else comes next from Broken Binding. The next one, I don't know how many of these I got. I've been collecting the Easton Press editions of the works of Charles Dickens. I now own 15 of these. The latest one to come was the Old Curiosity Shop. I think I might have gotten a second one in the last 6 months. I don't recall, but I'm down to, all I need is Bleak House, and then I'll have all of the novels. Then I may pick up some of the fragments, like the Christmas stories after that. Basically, I just look for these periodically, and when I see them at a good price, I pick them up. But these Easton Press editions are amazing. You have the gold edges. And this one I received, I mean, this is in the 70s, and this is 100% flawless condition. I mean, it might even be unread. It's that good of a condition. So just gorgeous leather bound. The next 3 are from the Kickstarter by Brandon Sanderson. And these are pretty amazing as well. This is the Secret Projects, and the first one is Tress of the Emerald Sea. These are just incredible premium hardcovers. I mean, we have all of this. There's great art within as I'm dropping things. Even just little details like colored chapter headers. These are just really truly premium hardcovers. So Tress of the Emerald Sea was the first one. The second one that we received was the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, which sounds very whimsical, and just love the blue. But again, just some great artwork in here. This one seems to be a little bit more illustrated. There's a lot more like smaller pictures here and there. I've heard mixed reviews for all of these books, but the editions are amazing. And then the latest one, the third Secret Project, which seems to be the one most well received from critics, is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And just another outstanding, gorgeous edition. Again, so much detail, so much value in these. Just great artwork. Can't wait to get into those. That's probably, I'm saying it a lot, it's probably a priority in 2024. I'm pretty certain that my physical TBR is gonna drive my priorities for 2024. One last special edition. I knocked the camera over trying to pick these up. This was a box set that I received from a viewer. It was on my Amazon wish list. And this is Shelby Foote's 3-volume Civil War. And Shelby Foote, of course, is famous. I'm setting it down because it's very heavy. Shelby Foote is famous as being the historian on Ken Burns' The Civil War that just told all the great, great stories. I guarantee, I'm repeating myself, priority in 2024 is going to read some Shelby Foote, but I'm really excited to read those. So this was a big book haul. What should I prioritize out of all of this? Let me know what you think I should read. This isn't even everything, but I'm really happy to have this. This was 6 months worth, so it seems like I bought a lot of books. I really didn't. It was really just a couple here and there, and then a bunch of gifts and so forth. So let me know what I should read first. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to contribute to a future book haul, my Amazon wish list is below. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.